Welcome to my main card predictions for Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya 2. Getting to the straight first fight of the main card. Rosas Jr. versus Rodriguez in the bantamweight division. Massive reach advantage on Rodriguez's side, both good on the ground, but below. I don't think the reach is going to help Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez is going to lose this one, really. I think it comes down to that over the 3 rounds, Rodriguez will make a mistake and it'll be taken advantage of. And once you're on the ground, I think the better one is Rojas Jr. and he'll get the submission there. I think he'll control the fight on the ground if he doesn't even get a submission. I think Rodriguez is just worse on the ground, which I think is where it's going to be won, this fight. Straight up to the next fight on the main card is Kevin Holland versus Ponzinibbio. So that's a very good fight, I think. And I think Kevin Holland's got it. I think Ponzinibbio, if he gets it, then it shows he's at a higher level. I think Kevin Holland's sort of that next level of fighter. But I think Kevin's got this. He's a good fighter and basically will beat, I believe, beat anyone outside the top 5. Massive reach advantage for Holland as well. Got KO'd by Stephen Thompson, but then also hurt him on a few occasions. Looked good in the fight up to the KO. Did well against someone who's a great stand-up fighter. And Stephen Thompson is one of the best, and stood with him and got a good few rocks on Stephen Thompson. So I think stand-up Ponzinibbio or Thompson, who's better? Thompson, definitely. And I think Holland, sort of being good in that fight means he's gonna get his one done. Going on to the next fight, Rob Font versus Adrian. I think Rob Font did well against Vera. So in the last fight with Chio Vera just went against Sanhagen, and Sanhagen kind of won that fight quite not decisively, but did well over the 5 rounds. In a sense, got most of it. I don't think there was any sort of disputing that he won the fight. And I think that Font doing well against Vera shows that he's at a higher level, which Adrian really hasn't fought at. Sort of that top 5 of the division level. On the feet, I think Font will push back Adrian, and Adrian will get, like he kind of did with Vera, in some cases, which meant that you then have to be very good to get out of it. If he's cutting off the cage, he's doing well. Like Vera was good enough to strike back and get sort of advantage by pushing him again back and never going back into the corner. And you need the ability to get out of them situations. I don't know if when Rob Font does that, it's only going to be a top 5 sort of guy that can sort of stay out of it, especially over 3 rounds. I think Rob Font will do well. I think Font by KO TKO within 3 rounds. Then on to the co-main, Burns versus Masvidal. Great fight. Basically, kind of bringing up anyone who's sort of looking for the next top 5 shot, or getting close to a title shot out of this fight. Burns, I think, great fighter. Showed what he could do against Chimaev, who it's hard to think that Chimaev won't be sort of the next champion in that division, of going for it against Leon Edwards. And as long as if he can keep the weight, he can stay in that weight class, because that is the real problem with that. If he makes weight and he fights, it's sort of he's quite a scary guy in that division, and Burns did really well against him. Burns did really well, and it really showed how good Burns was. And I think a lot of people writing Burns off straight away. I think even I was kind of like, well, Chimaev has shown what he can do. I think he's going to beat Burns. Burns is so well in that fight in areas, and it was sort of I thought we knew Chimaev would win, but it was sort of a bit of a not a get to sort this. I think. I think Chimaev showed where he is. I think Chimaev is such a good wrestler, and Burns did so well to keep him there. I think Masvidal's obviously going to try and stay on the feet, and that's the thing. Masvidal will stay on the feet. He's a great fighter on the feet, but I think if Burns plays it right and gets him to the ground, I think Burns is very good, especially how he dealt with Chimaev in that fight. I think if it stays on the feet, Masvidal has a great chance. I think Burns, if he goes to the ground, gets it done. So I think that's the sort of thing. It's the question of how good is Burns on the feet. I think he's good enough to stand partly with him and kind of make him question it and then get him to the ground. I think Burns wins it. I think Burns is pretty much... thinking about it, kind of creeping into that top 5 if he's not in it. And Masvidal, don't think if he wins this, fair play, it shows how good he is, because Burns' stock has went up so much. I think Burns has just got that ground game, which that sort of gives him that second dimension more than Masvidal's got. So I think Burns gets a submission within the time. On to the main event. We've got Pereira versus Israel Adesanya 2. I think Alex is the better kickboxer. They've had 3 fights, I believe, 2 in kickboxing and 1 in the UFC. Obviously, last time out, Alex Pereira won. And in kickboxing also got 1 KO. I think he won by decision one time, I think. Could be wrong there, but I think last time, I was even saying at the press conference, your press conference was sort of, he was very jaded by the press saying about how he got KO'd in kickboxing by Alex. And Alex was very calm, and so I've never really seen Izzy like that, where he's so annoyed. I mean, he was so angry that people were even mentioning it, and it's sort of like, well, what do you think they're going to talk about when you fought this guy before? And so it's sort of hard to see how, unless I think you see in the press conference, but also you see it. I think Alex is just a better kickboxer. I think he's just got Izzy's number. I think that's it. I think you find someone who has got your number, and that's it. And your styles, you could beat everyone, but there's that one guy that will always beat you. And I always believe that with every fight. There is one fighter out there who may not even be the best. May not be the best at being like a champ. You could beat everyone in division, but there's that one guy who could even just be like a non-ranked fighter who has this weird thing style-wise, and he beats you, and he will beat you every time. Normally, when you're at high level, you're never gonna. It's sort of Alex Pereira, like especially Izzy as well. Like you're finding 2 people who are best at what they do, kickboxing. And normally, what you find is when I say someone's always got your number, it's normally on the opposite style. So if you're a kickboxer, it's normally a wrestler. But with that, you've got to change things up. Izzy's got to look for something else than kickboxing in this fight if he wants to get anywhere, because he's just not going to win on the feet against Alex. Alex is way too big. He's got so much power in his hands, more than Izzy. And Izzy's never fought anyone with the same sort of build. That's the thing. Someone who's even bigger than him, he's never had that in the division. I think that kind of nullifies what Izzy used And it showed in the first fight. Alex is so good. It's just so much. The power in his hands is incredible, and I think it's just a nullifier. And especially when they fought so many times, I think once you start getting more and more wins over someone, it's harder and harder. I think it's harder and harder for someone to actually come back from it and actually get a win, or even try to. I don't know what Izzy does after this if he does lose. I think he does lose it, but I don't know what he does, because what do you go down and just know that the guy at the top of the division has always got your number and hope that someone beats him? How many years could that be? How many fights could that be? If you're fighting 3 or 4 times a year, which is this kind of standard, you're talking. Look, you've got to. Who is that person? Who is that person in the middleweight division that's actually going to get there? Right? It's concerning for Izzy, really, if he does lose this. I think Izzy needs to win. I think otherwise it's a question of, does he continue? Because do you continue and wait for someone to get his number and beat him, and then you go, oh, well, I'm next contender, I beat everyone else, and then you go up, but then surely Alex is just going back up. It's sort of... You're hoping for Alex to lose the belt then by someone else, and I don't think that's the way Izzy would want to sort of go around it, and it's just always a guessing game. You could stay in the game taking so much damage for nothing you want. Izzy has earned the money. He can get out of the game. He's got the wealth. He's got he could probably do other things within MMA, do his own brand, do other things anyway outside of the cage. So I think if Alex wins, I don't think he'll retire straight away. I think he considers it. I think it depends if Alex sort of loses a next fight, and if he wins it, it's sort of like, oh, okay, well, he's not just that one guy who's got Izzy's number. He's actually a top talent fighter, which I think he is. I think he's a very good fighter. I think Izzy. I think Izzy's just got to try and get him down if he can, and hope for the best. I think that's what he's got to do over 5 rounds, try and get him down. Because these 5-round fights as well, Izzy could over a 3-round just poke him and try and get there. But even then, they're both from the same style, kickboxing. I think it's just you've got the same talent, and one person's got the advantage. One person's just slightly better, and I think that's getting under. I think we'll see in the press conference again. I think the annoyance of Izzy. I think this time it's going to be more quiet. I'm not speaking about it. You know what I mean? It's not even anger. It's just going to be, I'm not commenting on that and stuff like that. So I think that's going to show how it's playing on his mind a bit more for the last fight. But we'll see. So I think Alex gets it within the time limit for another TKO KO. Tell me what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.